Loud and clear.
Okay. Am I clear?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, great. I'm a little daft at all this, Samira, so I didn't know whether you had to unmute me or what you had to do.
That's okay.
All in the same boat.
Yeah.
Good God, this is so
This
wonderful
is
to
really
hear.
great. Really, really great.
So for those who don't know, Rabab, Mrs. Rabab and Mrs. Firozan are ex-colleagues, and this was a surprise for Mrs. Firozan as well. I'm hoping she wasn't expecting Mrs. Rabab to be here, and thank you so much, Mrs. Rabab, for being here at such a short notice to introduce your dear colleague and friend.
Oh my.
Okay. Have you got enough participants? Should I start,
Gigi,
or you want me to wait for a while?
Gigi, please kindly start. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Samira. And Assalamu alaikum, everyone. She's already introduced me. I'm Rubab Azad, and I live in Dubai. And Firozan and I have been colleagues. So basically, I just, before I talk about Firozan, a topic very close to my heart and a lady very close to my heart, I would like to begin by applauding this brilliant initiative taken by Samira and her colleagues in launching Padho and Padhao, which, as my understanding goes, has already expanded in scope of topics covered and in terms of its sheer reach and inclusiveness. Based on their philosophy that all teachers are first and foremost learners, Padho and Padhao is bound for great success. More power to you girls.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Agreed.
So today I have the pleasure of introducing the key presenter of this meeting, Mrs. Firozan Warsi, to you. So Firozan, addressing you in this formal manner is really very new to me.
No, please
right?
Stop.
So I will just refer to her as Firozan. Okay. So when Samira asked me this morning, actually, I just got back after last night, after about 10 days of hectic traveling. We had gone to 3-4 places. When Samira asked me this morning if I would take a few minutes to introduce Firozan to the attendees of this meeting, my delighted anticipation, my first and foremost reaction was delight and joy. But my delighted anticipation at the thought of talking about a great colleague and a dear friend like Firozan, soon gave way to concern. And you might well ask why I was concerned. And honestly, and this is from the bottom of my heart, I thought, and it is actually, I still think that it was going to be a challenge to talk about having just a few minutes to talk about, meaningfully introduce my dear friend, the multi-talented, innovative, creative, and dedicated educator of her caliber. I mean everything, Firozan. So, it's a little, it's actually a sort of a strange platform because we are also formal, we are also informal. So, I'm just finding my own feet yet. Okay. So for all of you who don't really know, Samira has already told you, Firozan and I have worked together for more than a decade at Al-Waha International School in Jeddah, where Firozan had initially worked as a teacher, and after some years, she joined Al-Waha as the head of the junior school. So Firozan, please forgive all the inaccuracies in my account.
No, please. No.
Now, it was her strong Montessori background and her creativity and passion as an educator of young children that led her to create magical educational experiences for the young learners under her care. And under her dynamic leadership, the junior school, the section of the school went from strength to strength.
God, that sounds very official, Rabab.
I warned you. No, I was trying to just get everything together and put all my thoughts together, in this short period of time. Now, all the other ladies who don't know Firozan, she weaves magic with words as well. And she's also an author with a deep interest in child psychology and theology. She draws her inspiration from the hundreds of children she has taught and guided, specifically her 3 grandchildren. Her writing is an homage to them. With her work for children, she aims to exemplify the mysteries of Islam through a fun-filled genre. Coming from a family of writers and educators, she now lives in Canada with her spouse and is forever ready to support educational initiatives with her time, dedicated effort, and sheer talent. She is indeed an educator without borders. And that's my dear friend Farouzan for you. I honestly could just go on and on, but I'm also very cognizant of the time that I don't want to eat up into the presentation and the rest of the meeting. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Rabab. That was fantastic. I'm so glad that inspiration struck me early in the morning today. They say, nahi, काफी बार ये कहा जाता है कि सुबह जल्दी उठा करिए क्योंकि सुबह आपको बहुत अच्छे आइडियाज आते हैं. तो आज सुबह मुझे ये बहुत अच्छा आइडिया आया और इसी बहाने amazing ladies we have on this platform. Thank you so much, Mrs. Rabab. And you're absolutely right. हमारी जो speaker है उनको हम 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 मिनट में इंट्रोड्यूस नहीं कर सकते. शी इज सो मॉडेस्ट. जब मैंने उनसे प्रोफाइल मांगी तो वो ये कह रही थी कि मतलब क्यों मैं प्रोफाइल मांग रही हूँ, क्या बात है, मतलब क्यों मैं इतना इंट्रोडक्शन उनका करूँ. तो दिस वाज अ सरप्राइज फॉर यू वंस अगेन, मिसेस Ferouzan. If it's okay with you, please let's go on to the presentation, please.
Yeah, so can I counter that with words for Rabab as well? I mean, that's just over the top, Samira. Thank you so much, Rabab. This is so kind of you to do this. I mean, I find it very difficult to express in words the love I feel for you, and it's really beyond my words. Thank you so very much, and thank you for joining in even. Spending time on this.
No, it's a pleasure, Farouzan, but I'm so sorry that, Samira has promised me a recording, promised all of us a recording, I think.
Absolutely.
It's, I've just got here. It's my granddaughter's birthday tomorrow. So I've been, I've not been able to contribute much to the arrangements, and I'm sorry I'm going to have to rush off. And of course I'll be getting the recording from Samira. And Salam alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum salam. Such a pleasure. All right. Samira,
you need any assistance with the sharing?
As long as you can hear me. Okay. I think my issue was really the audio.
Bluetooth.
Yeah, my laptop did its, just rejected the battery sort of, it was swelling because I think I wasn't keeping it on a firm surface. So with that, my audio system seems to have collapsed. And so I had to fall back on the Bluetooth.
We can hear you. I think we all can hear you. And if there's any problem, then the chat box is on as well, Mrs. Ferouzan. So if there's anyone posting any comments, or if they can't hear you, I will let you know immediately, inshallah.
Sounds wonderful. So should we then begin? Can I share my screen?
Gigi, please.
Host disabled participant screen sharing. It's disabled, the screen.
Okay, just bear with me. Can you try now, please? She has enabled it. Mrs. Nikhat has enabled it.
Okay, now.
Can you?
And so now.
Ji, we can see the screen.
You can see.
Ji, everybody, आप लोग screen देख सकते हैं? Okay, thank you. Ji, we can.
Okay.
We can see the screen. Ji, please start करें.
Okay, so formally, Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to everyone. Samira, Nikhat, and Sana, especially, thank you very much for having me back on this platform. For all it's worth, I love being here, and I especially want to thank everyone who took the time to be here on this discussion. And I'd rather like it to be a discussion more than one-sided thing. So whenever Samira, you think you need to stop me, just stop me in the middle. If you want to raise any questions or have any discussion, then let's keep it informal that way. Although I did put together this presentation, I want to start out just by saying that this isn't something that all of us do not know about, especially the young mothers. Now they read so much, they know so much. And there isn't anything that I will be speaking about that that you do not know about. But it helps to bring things together on one platform so that we sort of revisit things, and then it makes us think all over again. So nothing that I will say is alien to you or difficult for you to even connect to, because you know everything already. So we are talking about nurturing our child's mind, body, and soul. It's kind of a heavy topic one feels when you relate it to a child. But I think it's the need of the hour. It's something that we need to talk about. Why are we discussing this at all? I believe our children are living in an increasingly toxic world. Sounds very depressing, but the reality is that after the pandemic, there is a sea change in the world. And because of the free flow of information, a lot of our children have access to information that they shouldn't have either. Besides that, there are plenty of issues that can cause anxiety and depression in children. Probably did exist before, but now it seems like the magnitude of it has increased fourfold. And the reasons for anxiety or depression in children could be so many, and it could be on a mind level, or it can be on an advanced level. Of course, you know that if it's at an advanced level, we are having to seek some professional help. It really depends. I think most children are at a very, at a stage where the parents can really deal with it as well. But I don't want to, it's just a blanket statement that I'm making here. The reasons for anxiety and depression could be so many. There could be, there's more recently, more disturbingly, the gender confusion. In schools, at least here, we hear about it so much. I don't know across the world how it is. But then, yes, more people are talking about it. Then there could be study pressures. There could be peer pressures. There could be nutrition issues in some countries. There are children migrating to other countries from conflict zones. There is this period of uncertainty and confusion in the children's mind. And what about social media? Let's talk about that. With young adolescents, with young adults, you have this, they post pictures, and if they don't get positive comments, that disturbs them. They're waiting for likes, they're waiting for constant feedback. There are comparisons which are really unhealthy, because whatever is posted on the social media necessarily isn't the reality. So, but if you think about a child whose mind is developing and continues to develop until they're even 25 years, I think it's an area which it's very real, and we need to deal with it. At the end of the day, what do we want? We just want motivated, peaceful, happy campers. And what do we need to do to achieve this? I think it calls for this thing that I call a daily connect time. It's the time where you can laugh and be silly with them. It's a time when you talk with them without your phones by your side. It's the time where you say, okay, these are meaningful connections that I'm going to make with my child. It calls for time investment, serious time investment, because our day is so full of providing for our children in the material sense. Did you keep all your books in your bag? Did you this? Did you that? Did you eat up your meal and do you have your clothes ready? Whatever, our daily to do stuff. But what really is missing is when they return from school or on a weekend, to give that connect time. We see you sit down and talk, and like I said, be silly with them, make silly jokes with them. Earlier, parents used to have a very clear category of, I'm the parent, I'm the senior one, and you are the child. Now those lines have gotten sort of blurred, and children should be able to joke with their parents. So that is the reason that we really need to talk about this. This is the reason why we bring it to the table. Again, like I said, everybody knows about it, but let's talk about it. Now, what really shapes our mind, and this is the topic that we're really dealing with first, because we're talking about nurturing the mind, body, and soul. So what shapes our mind?
I'm so sorry, Ms. Firozan, if you don't mind, can I just quickly ask a question? Just say your first slide. I mean, there was so much. कहने को, it was one slide, but there was just so much. We were thinking about so many things just looking at that one slide. अब आपकी जो ये second slide है जो आपने डाली है, इसके बाद वाली, why are we discussing this? जो next slide आपने डाली है, इसके बाद please जी. What shapes our minds? जैसे आपने कहा हमारे माइंड को क्या शेप करता है, जेनेटिक्स, एनवायरनमेंट, एजुकेशन या न्यूट्रिशन. तो हम लोग, हमारे जो ऑडियंसेस हैं उनसे हम लोग ये पूछ सकते हैं कि अगर हम लोग, इफ आई एम नॉट मिस्टेकन, जैसे कि आपने कहा कि वी बहुत सारी चीजें जो आप कह रही हैं ये वो चीजें हैं जो हमें पता है मिसेस फिरोजान, बट हम लोग या तो उसको अपने माइंड के किसी एक बैग उसमें डाल देते हैं और हम भी उसको इग्नोर कर देते हैं. जैसे आपने वो चीज कही कि देखिए इट्स सो इम्पोर्टेंट कि हम लोग वो मटेरियल चीजें ना पूछें बच्चों से कि नाश्ता करा आपने, बुक्स रखी, ये रखी, वो रखी. देयर आर सो मेनी अदर थिंग्स दैट वी नीड टू बी कंसंट्रेटिंग ऑन. जी, और उस बीच में उला का एक आया है कि कैन वी स्पीक इन इंग्लिश. उला, द रीजन आई एम सॉर्ट ऑफ ट्रांसलेटिंग इन उर्दू एंड हिंदी इज बिकॉज वी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल फ्रॉम इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान एज वेल, so that's why we sort of are trying to strike that balance between all our audiences. तो प्लीज बेयर विद अस व्हाइल वी डू दैट. तो जैसे कि आपने कहा कि व्हाट शेप्स आवर माइंड, तो ये देख के कोई कहना चाहेगा हमको ऑडियंसेस में कि वो कौन सी रीजंस हैं जिसकी वजह से अ चाइल्ड बिहेव्स द वे दे डू. इज दैट द थिंग दैट वी आर ट्राइंग टू से हियर, मिसेस फिरोजा?
Yeah, whatever shapes our thinking, जो हमारा again, I'm very bad at expressing myself entirely in Urdu. लेकिन जो हमारी thinking को shape करता है वो कौन सी चीजें हैं that shape our thinking, our mind.
Okay.
Let's say the mind जो है, the tangible organ that deals with the mind is the brain, obviously. Right? That's a tangible one.
Right.
Mind is the process that the brain goes through.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Or these are, would somebody like to say something?
कोई कुछ कहना चाहेगा इस स्लाइड के बारे में, ladies? Or we can just proceed. I mean, I'm just trying to keep this interactive, but we don't have to. We'll just let Mrs. Firoza proceed. अगर कोई कुछ कहना चाहे,
I'd love somebody to contribute if they have anything to say, because this is, like I said, सबको पता है क्या है ये.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम.
मैं ये कह रही थी कि जैसे अभी आपने कहा what shapes our mind, तो आई फील environment जो होता है बच्चे का, that is one thing which is very important in a child's thinking, कि वो कैसा सोच रहा है और कैसा shape up करता है अपने thoughts को, और कैसे अपने किस तरह behave करता है और बड़ा होता है. So I very believe in that. Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for that. बहुत शुक्रिया Nishad, and anyone else also. Just raise your hand and mute कर दें when you are not. कोई contribution जब आप ना देना चाहें तो everybody please अपने mics mute कर दीजिए. And what I'll do is I'll proceed, because I think I also realize that we're a bit running late now. So only when anyone raises their hand, I will interrupt Mrs. Firoza's presentation. Please, Mrs. Firoza.
Right. So what shapes our mind really is that we think that genes can play a major role. Although we inherit physical traits from our parents, but genes actually do play a role in determining our intelligence or processes, but they're not the sole factor. Our intelligence is actually influenced by a combination of genes and environmental factors, pretty much like, was it Nishad who was saying that? Yes, we are influenced by environmental factors. So we are social beings. People around us influence us, our thinking, our circumstances shape us. You see, if there is luxurious living, there's average lifestyles people lead, there are below average lifestyles people lead. All these come with internal expectations. We either expect a little or grow with a sense of entitlement. I'm sure there are a lot of children in our knowledge who think that it's their right to have the best of things in life. These are impressions that they form. So although education does improve cognitive abilities and increases creativity and power of reasoning, but these are other impressions that also form in the mind. So we also look at, for instance, in an environment where children go through trauma, when a child goes through a traumatic incident, and it could be of any level. One hopes that no child goes through a traumatic incident, but you think increasingly about children growing up in war zones, where they see up front, or for that matter, if you've seen during the earthquake, what do you think has gone through the minds of these children, these young minds? When something like that happens, the adrenaline and neurochemicals rush to the brain, leaving an imprint on the emotional side of the brain. So what happens is the power of reasoning that the mind deals with just goes out. So if you see a child going through a rough time, that moment, how should he react or seek somebody's help or reach somewhere, just sort of flies out of the window. So these are impressions that form in his mind, and he might grow pretty positive. He grows up with it. A lot of us have minor incidents that happen and that we carry in our heads over the years. Okay. So, and then we also have nutrition. Nutrition cannot be ignored. We have malnutrition. We have, because of nutrition issues, there could be cognitive decline, and there could be depression, there could be fatigue. So those are just few words, and I think I'm just going to race through this a little bit now. The brain is the command center of the human body. A baby is born with all the neurons required for the rest of his life. It is the neural connections, the synapses that help the brain to work. And a lot of our teachers that we've spoken together with know that how these neural connections do happen. And I'm talking about very little kids. Now, Sigmund Freud talks about three parts of the mind. He talks about the conscious mind, he talks about the preconscious and the subconscious. For the sake of this particular presentation, we're going to talk about the conscious and the subconscious mind. What Sigmund Freud does is that he likens our mind to an iceberg. The top layer is the thinner one, just the 10% top layer, and that is the conscious mind. Can you believe the 90% of the lower is the subconscious and the preconscious clubbed together? So now there's a lot going on in that subconscious mind. What is the conscious mind responsible for? It does analyzing, it does decision-making, it does logical reasoning. When we communicate with each other, that's where it's happening. The subconscious mind is responsible for creativity, for long-term memory, for feelings, emotions, perceptions, the autonomic nervous system, which is really not in our control, the digestion, blood pressure, or breathing. And these are the things that the subconscious mind is responsible for. Now, this part of the mind is where self-image happens. And that is what we are concerned about with our own children. This, of course, then forms a major part of our personality. I used to say when I was working that when an angry parent walked through the door, I actually would immediately try to imagine him or her as a young child. And I could pretty much sort of calm myself down and say, okay, this is how this child was, and that is why he's like this or she's like this. That's interesting. I mean, it's just a way of dealing with things. What happens if children grow up with a fear of failure? They will hesitate to take action out of that fear. So you'll find a lot of children hesitating to do things, and a lot of them do that. What really happens is these are perceptions that can get stored in the mind by the child based on the environment he's provided, or the interactions with the parent or the caregiver. There are circumstances from birth onwards that might cause these perceptions to plant themselves in the head and then eventually form a self-image. Let me give you an interesting example of this. If you see a baby elephant in a circus once upon a time, I think now, thankfully, the circuses are going out. But what they used to do is shackle this baby elephant with chains on his hind legs. And that's how he stayed. And he would move as much as the chain would allow him to. As this elephant grew in size and really became its full adult size, it could easily snap those chains and get away, but it doesn't. It doesn't. And the simple reason is because of this subconscious perception that, oh, I'm not allowed to go beyond this point. That's how our subconscious works in our case as well, in our human case as well. The subconscious mind is definitely more powerful than the conscious mind. And I think we need to look at how we can nurture this. How can I nurture this? Any ideas about what positive self-image would be? How could we develop positive self-image in kids? Would anyone like to contribute?
If I can say something now, I mean, I'll try to make it quick. I think like body shaming has become a very big thing, Mrs. Feroza, and I don't know if I'm going on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, matlab, you are supposed to look and feel and behave and present yourself in a particular way. तो ये चीज मतलब इतनी ज्यादा conscious हो गई, and I think we in a way we can link that to जो आपकी first slide थी कि positive self image एक वो ऐसी चीज हो गई है कि जिसकी वजह से I think it's sort of linked to social media as well, because सब अपनी एक image बताना चाहते हैं और वो image चाहे fake भी हो, but social media में अपनी वो fake image present करना चाहते हैं. तो कुछ लोग ऐसे मतलब कुछ बच्चे कुछ लोग I mean in real life में वो इतने shy होंगे, वो अगर आपके वो पास बैठे होंगे तो आप वो हो सकता है वो बच्चे और वो adults आपके पास 10-15 मिनट बैठे रहेंगे मगर वो आपसे कुछ नहीं बोलेंगे. और ये वो बच्चे हैं या वो अडल्ट्स हैं जिनके पास सोशल मीडिया पे इतने फॉलोअर्स हैं और वो यू नो दे ट्राइंग टू वो अपने आप को कुछ और प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं सोशल मीडिया पे क्योंकि उनको पता है कि वो इसी तरह उनको एक्सेप्टेंस मिलेगी.
That is a very important point you make, and yes, body shaming है बहुत बड़ा, it's a very very big issue. And all other things, like I said, जो भी आप you post on the social media, and you're seeking sometimes a non-face to say a thumbs up sign or some approval. So हमारे बच्चे they're growing with this desire for approval, and I'm worthwhile only if I have other people's approval. So that is a very sad state to be in. I think it's important. I'm sorry to bring Montessori into it, but in Montessori, you work for yourself to the point where you say, I'm satisfied with the work I've produced. I don't need somebody to tell me, oh, you've done it so well. जो कि आप आमतौर पे देखते हैं schools वगैरह में people children are appreciated, oh, very neat handwriting, very this, very that. So ये चीज, you work for your own satisfaction. So I want to better my own work. So it's not being self-absorbed certainly, but ये है कि आपका अपना image is your happiness is not dependent upon somebody else. But I digress a little bit. I'm suggesting that self-image ऐसी चीज है कि आप बच्चों में आप you can help them grow with a very positive image, yes, but we have to remain real. If a child has produced very untidy work, it would be very silly to say, oh, what a beautiful piece of work you've produced. No, then you say, I'm not sure that I like this. I think you could do a better job. So we have to have the wisdom to understand किस हद तक हमको बच्चों की तारीफ करनी चाहिए और किस हद तक हमें उनको encourage करना चाहिए. So think about the positive self-image, and there are tons of ways that we do in everyday life we do. If we think about the daily connect that I was talking about, हर रोज we get opportunities where we can say something nice about our kids to make them feel good. And वो जो कहते हैं ना dopamine, that there is that sense that even with adults, you'll find that if I get a little bit of praise, it sort of makes my day. And that's just a very natural tendency. So to continue with this, to nurture the mind, I think I find a very good way. My observations have been that board games, many of them have a great way of developing the intellect and making children feel there is definitely this sense of competition, but it also eventually translates into empowering them into doing things the way they feel good about it. So board games में जैसे अब chess है or Scrabble है and Cluedo है, where there's a lot of reasoning required. So your brain the cells are constantly developing with these kinds of games. And then of course, things like cooking and baking with them. One might say, oh, what does cooking do? What does baking do? Yes, the activity in itself probably seems like a very mundane thing. But then what are you doing? You're introducing measure, you're introducing temperatures, you're talking about the texture of food stuff, from where it comes, the countries that you find these in, trying new recipes. When you're baking, then what doesn't work with it? How does the baking soda work? How does baking powder work? So I can think of tons of things that can add to impressions for a growing child. Then let's talk about the environment that we can provide them with, a rich environment of, books that are age appropriate. Travel does great for children. Children who have traveled across the world, not everyone has the opportunity, but aapki apni city mein there's so much. Isn't that the saying, Londoners haven't seen the London Tower? It's exactly like that. There are things within the city, within your own area, which you can go and you can have fun with the children and increase their impressions. Museums have a great way of introducing culture, history. So I think there used to be a time when I thought, when I was a student, that, oh my God, it's a history period, and I was ready to sleep because it just didn't drive me. But now I see that history has so much importance. You just introduce that to the children in an interesting way, and that should help in a major way. And lastly, the screen time, which I'm so passionate about, limiting it. I'm not saying get rid of it, but it has a way of damaging children's ability to think abstract. It's important that that abstraction goes on in their head and they are able to imagine things, and screen has a way of just supplying that information. And very soon you can't find yourself wanting to do anything else except watch. So those are my strong feelings about how the mind can be nurtured. And there can be tons of others which probably all of you have found. So but these are just a few that I could put together. The next would be about the body, which again is a no-brainer. I think everybody knows a healthy mind exists in a healthy body. The National Library of Medicine in its report on children suggests that on an average, our children spend 8 hours of the day just sitting. And this could be in class, it could be at home, in front of the TV, in front of a device. Also, in countries like in Canada, where 6 months of the year, we only see snow and extremely cold temperatures, children can't get out. Or in very hot countries where you can't let the children get out. So it's very limited. It would be a good idea to just look at how we can provide them with necessary.
I think
there is some disturbance.
Some disturbance, yeah.
I think.
Momina, please mic unmute करें. Ladies, everyone, please अपना mic unmute कर दीजिए, mute कर दीजिए. Everyone, please mic mute कर दें, except for the speaker, please. Thank you.
So I'll just carry on. Children learn through movement, and if there is 8 hours of our daytime just sitting, then where is the movement? You can, think about it yourself. So there is generally a reluctance to move after some time. Children will not do that. And that's sort of disturbing, because that's not how children are meant to be. A study also published in the Journal of Pediatrics found that 90% of our children in the age group of 6 to 18 do not get enough sleep. There are young adults who record even shorter sleep, because that is the quiet time of the night when they can get on their devices and they can, whether they're on the social media or they're watching something, that's the time they are awake. And then when they wake up in the morning, they are drowsy, they're irritable. So all these things will happen when we think about sleep. And there is another study again from a journal of sleep research that finds children who watch television or devices before bedtime, they experience high rates of sleep issues. They find it difficult to drop off, to fall asleep, and they wake up frequently during the night. So these are things that we need to think about. Now, how can I say if my child is not sleeping well? It's possible that the teacher might report that the child is sleepy in class, doesn't do much, yawning all the time, remains or is hyperactive. He could have poor attention spans. There could be behavior issues, and this could happen with all ages. That really tells you a little bit about not sleeping very well. We'll move on to nutrition. Nutrition, of course, the body needs a balanced meal. Can you imagine that $5 million are spent on marketing food high in sugar, $5 million across the world? These are advertisements. A 2021 study from WHO suggests that 38.9 million children are obese. And that's because of the consumption of these trans fats and sugar and processed meats. Honestly, this needs a real think. Have you then ever seen an advertisement for broccoli or cabbage? They don't do that. We have to be vigilant, and we'll have to decide what food stuff our children should eat. But perhaps it's easy for me to say this. If young mothers are experiencing a problem where children don't eat, then my question really is, why do children become resistant to eating? That's because okay, these are okay. So children are resistant to eating because sometimes there could be pressure. When you say, I want you to finish everything in your plate. And that happens very often. I do it all the time with my grandkids too. But then causes pressure. Then there is just coaxing, for instance. You say, just eat a little bit more. Girl.
Happy hai. Happy ho.
Can you hear me? Samira, can you hear me? Can you still hear me? I can't hear. Is Samira online? I can't hear anybody's.
उनका म्यूट हुआ हुआ है.
Okay. I can hear. Should I continue then? If everyone can hear?
जी आप बोलें. आपकी आवाज आ रही है clear.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So we were talking about nutrition, I think. Yeah, that we were saying that children are resistant to eating because sometimes there could be pressure from us, or there could be just coaxing, like I said, just to eat a little bit more. That's a good girl. So your connection of being a good girl is with eating a little bit more. So that's not how it should really be. Then there could be things like, you know, you can't go out to play because if you haven't finished all your carrots. So again, my carrots becomes a dislike because I don't get to play outside until I've finished those carrots. Or there could be rewards. If you eat everything, then I will this for you. So not the best thing to do, but usually children are very good at saying they're hungry. Eating when hungry and stopping when full is really a behavior. So it is wise to look upon it with greater wisdom and say, okay, if the child is not eating, then look at the evidence and say, how long has it been since he ate last? Or did he eat something between his meals? Is he too tired? Is something bothering him? So all these things will help. Also, as mothers, we tend to give children more food than they can accommodate. So look at the portions that we give them. Now, some strategies that can be adopted for improving eating would be, give me just a second, there it goes. So it's a great idea to you know, go grocery shopping together, reading the labels to tell them what is good for them, what is not, let them pick that food. We've already talked about cooking with them. Creating a menu with them would empower them to create their own food choices, which is within the limits of the list that you might create of healthy foods. So they feel compelled then to eat what they have created as well, the menu that they have created. Also leaving interesting notes in the lunch boxes. It's wonderful to have. That's an opportunity sometimes if you haven't really made any progress with one-on-one with them, leaving a note in their lunch boxes can help. If you can see one on the screen, these are good impressions to give children. Or you could give the qualities of food, or you could give any message that you want to give. It's a great idea to put it in their lunch boxes. They look forward to opening a new the lunch box because there's a note in it. Okay, also creating happy meal times that are free of stress. We tend to create stress around the meal time. We have to remember that this has to be a relaxed time. Children will sit on their food and sit on their food. You have to bring control where you have to bring control until it doesn't constantly to say, are you eating? Are you eating? Are you eating? That kind of creates stress. Then, of course, always keeping healthy snacks in the pantry will help. A little boring, but yes, I think occasionally they can have a treat, but important to have some healthy snacks in there. So then let us move on to this very mysterious and intriguing part of our human persona, which is the soul. It refers to the spiritual aspect of the human existence. Now, there are several instincts that we are hardwired with. There is the survival instinct, for instance. If I am thrown into the deep end of the water and I don't know how to swim, I'll still try to push myself up and try to get out of the water. That's just my survival instinct kicking in. Then there is the fear instinct as well. If I'm a person who's scared of snakes, I will freeze when I see one. Even if I see one at a distance, I will freeze. Like I have this phobia for lizards and I freeze when I see them. So that's just the fear instinct in me. Exactly in the same way, we are created with the God instinct. We are born with this natural instinct. Even little kids can respond to this. There is an early awareness that we are not alone in this world, and that there is a reason for us to be in wonder and awe of a creator that we have not seen. So that aspect. The question is, how do we nurture this?
Inspiration.
So how do we even nurture this aspect, and are we doing enough is the question. The Quran itself invites intellectual inquiry. When we say, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, don't you use your intellect? Or أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ, don't you inquire? These are two basic elements that we know if our children have the God instinct. We can
have God instinct.
Then do we as parents invite children to think or reason? A lot of us probably do, but I think there is a capacity to do a lot more. Do we ask them questions that could lead them to ask questions again? That is what we want. We just don't want shrugs and quiet acceptance. We want them to think, because that is what the Quran has invited us to do. We have to speak the lingo of the children that they are used to. So if this is a generation that is really hooked on the digital aspect, for instance, I asked my granddaughter, I said, do you think there is an app that makes the blood run in my veins? And that sort of started out a whole dialogue between us. And that is really how we need to initiate the idea of, and because nurturing the soul will bring peace to our children. That's very important. So how do we actually nurture this? We form regular habits. Our salat itself gives us certain times that it has to be performed in, which help in creating regular habits. Then even the month of Ramadan coming up, excuse me, let me just. So these can create regular habits, and introducing whatever it is on a tangible level would be very nice, because the idea of Allah is very intangible. Children do say, oh, who created this? Allah did. All these things have to be brought together on a tangible level. So when you're taking a walk with them, or anything at all in life, have to bring it down to a tangible level where they find the existence of Allah very, very evident. I like to do comprehension passages on Surah Fatiha. There's so many aspects of it's such a rich surah. You could focus on one aspect and create a whole comprehension piece on that, and actually introducing the meaning of those words. I think the stress nowadays is increasingly on understanding the Quran than to just blindly recite it. So I'm sure that everyone has great ideas again. Then obviously you choose a topic on Allah's creation for a discussion and have an extensive discussion, which again calls for time investment. Then something that everyone practically does too during the month of Ramadan especially is the gratitude. So even a simple thing like vision, if I blindfold a child and say, how is this? Do you think you could exist without your eyes? And then to have gratitude go with it, to say, right. So those are just the few things that I can think of to nurture the soul. I think it's also important to keep things short. If my child will read only one ayat, so be it, but needs to understand what it means to the best of our ability. That's what we need to support. But when they become, there's more ease there and you see that they are able to read more, just go ahead with it. But to insist that every day you got to put a half hour of this study, to me seems detrimental, because they will start withdrawing from it. So great to insert stories. It's wonderful if it can be, consistent every day. You do a little bit. Keep it interesting. Keep inviting their thoughts. It's very important that they should be speaking, and it shouldn't be just a one-sided dialogue. So that to me is the entire thought process that I had with this particular presentation in mind. And I'm so grateful that all of you joined in and heard me out. I would love to have your impressions as well. Samira, I leave it to you to open that up.
Gigi, thank you so much. Thank you so much. There are obviously so many things, Mrs. Feroza, that have stood out in your presentation, that have, that has touched me personally in so many ways. And I don't know, वो जो lunch box था, क्या वो आपकी granddaughter का था?
Yes, it is my granddaughter.
You know why? Because वो lunch box देख के, because if I'm not mistaken, आपकी जो बेटी हैं वो कभी-कभी वो अपने जो notes हैं वो share करती हैं Instagram पे. तो मुझे उससे इतना inspiration मिला कि मैंने अपनी बेटी के, my youngest, who is not that young anymore, she's mashallah going to be 11, तो मैंने उनके lunch box पे ये notes डालना शुरू करे कुछ दिनों तक. और मैंने ये रियलाइज नहीं करा कि उसका कितना पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट होता था उस पे, क्योंकि जिस दिन मैं भूल जाती थी वो पूछती थी आके कि आज आपने क्यों है ना. तो कहने को देखिए ये कितनी छोटी सी चीज है ना. मतलब अगर हम मतलब पेपर की तो मतलब रिसाइकल्ड पेपर की तो कोई कमी नहीं होती हमारे पास, और वही अगर हम लोग पेपर यूज करके, और कोई भी चाहे वो नोट हो, अब जैसे आपने कहा कि देखें अब रमजान शुरू होने वाले हैं, तो एंड ऑब्वियसली बहुत सारी जगहों पे तो रमजान में स्कूल्स होंगे, तो हम लोग ना कोई भी एक पॉजिटिव चीज या कितनी सारी दुआएं होती हैं जो हम लोग आई होप लंच बॉक्स में बेअदबी ना हो जाए दुआओं की, बट देयर आर सो मेनी टिप्स जो हम लोग मतलब कितनी खूबसूरती से आपने तीनों चीजों को रिलेट किया है, माइंड बॉडी एंड सोल को. तो हम इन लंच बॉक्सेस में हम लोग डेली मतलब प्रैक्टिसेस भी, टिप्स भी शेयर कर सकते हैं. तो it was really beautiful. बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you so much. It was I mean really it was such a I mean हम लोग सोचते नहीं कि how the three of them are linked, the mind, body and soul, but they obviously are. So thank you so much to Faiza and Maliha. बहुत shukriya. They are in the chat box. They are saying Jazakallah khair to the beautiful presentation. और आप ladies, आप लोग कुछ और पूछना चाहेंगे मिसेस फिरोजा से? मैंने नोटिस किया था कि आज आई थिंक ये हमारा एक बम्पर एपिसोड हो गया है, क्योंकि मिसेस फिरोजा हमारी गेस्ट स्पीकर तो हैं ही, उनकी कॉलीग आई हैं मिसेस रबाब, जिन्होंने मिसेस फिरोजा को इंट्रोड्यूस किया. And now we have with us Dr. Karimuddin, who is a pediatrician from Jeddah. तो ये तो मतलब मैं क्या बताऊं. So Dr. Karimuddin का माइक पहले ऑन था. Dr. Karimuddin, can you hear us? I think he's actually traveling to India. He's in Bangalore. So I'm guessing that he is not around. He was around a few minutes back. तो आपने जो ये वाली वो वाली टिप्स आप शेयर कर रही थी लंच की, कि ब्रोकली, वाकई मतलब ब्रोकली का तो एडवर्टाइजमेंट शायद कभी बना ही नहीं है.
It doesn't suit them.
जी. तो डॉक्टर करीमुद्दीन, इसके बारे में आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे? हाउ डू वी एनकरेज चिल्ड्रन टू ईट हेल्दियर फूड्स?
And mother, we should practice of eating healthy and good food. Yeah.
Oops.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Kareem.
Wa alaikum salam. Sorry, I missed the first part of it. I was a bit busy. I've been traveling.
Nice. So kind of you to join in. Yeah. In fact, I feel nervous to share information in front of such a well-informed person. But this is a perspective on a different level.
I had some important work to do, so I got it here. Anyway, it was a very good, very nice lecture. Every week it's going on probably. So I'm open for any questions, any particular questions on this growth of the child and the eating habit, everything. Now I'm on a mission to India to promote the mental health problem. I visited a wonderful center in Bangalore. trying to get it over to Saudi Arabia. So that is that's going on there. And in that group discussion which I had yesterday, there was a child psychologist who is doing a wonderful job in Bangalore schools, where various fields of learning difficulties and mood swings, all the etc. So many things. So if you have any specific questions, I'm very happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaimuddin. I think we have Mrs. Kiran Mustafa. Mrs. Kiran Mustafa, आप कुछ पूछना चाहेंगी?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum
assalam. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, you are.
Assalamu alaikum, Mrs. Feroza. This is Kiran Mustafa from Saudi Arabia. Al-Waha's very, very
yes, Kiran, of course. Of course. What a delight.
I would be glad if you still remember me. Oh my God, Mrs. Feroza. First of all, I would like to tell you that I've been your fan like the whole time of my life till I worked in Al-Waha till now. I've been married, alhamdulillah. I'm a mother of an adorable 1.5-year-old daughter. But mashallah, mashallah, I was so looking forward to hear this presentation. Mashallah, it's been so insightful. It's been so fruitful. Thank you so much, Mrs. Feroza. And I would always, even when I was in Al-Waha, I would, even stay back and attend Mrs. Feroza's workshops and presentations. Like I look forward to whatever she says. Like I follow it blindly. Mashallah, with so much
Amira, I think we should stop this.
No, really, I mean what I'm
this is the best part.
No, really. One of my friends recently got to talk to Mrs. Feroza somehow, and she shared with us that they're gonna have this, Zoom meeting, and I was like, yeah, I will be joining. And you won't believe I'm almost on my way back home in the car, and I just, that's why I was not speaking, but I still wanted to jump in and share my gratitude to have this presentation and share your beautiful ideas with us, because from now on, like, she's 1.5 and I'm so concerned, like, how can I nurture her mind, body, and so, like, how can I be a good mother? I think it's all about parents. How can we be a role model to them, rather than we being hard on them. I'm sorry for the background as well. Yeah, I think it was very helpful for me, as a mother, to what I can do and what I don't have to do, what I must stop. Thank you so much, Mrs. Feroza. And well, I really, I'm really thankful, and I look forward for more. I mean, if there is anything in future, I would love to attend it, inshallah.
Absolutely.
I want to grow as a mother, actually, rather than growing my child, in that way. I as a person want to grow so that I can, I just want to be a good mother.
I think that's another natural instinct. I think a mother would have. You will do the right thing. You will always do the right thing for your children. And I think everyone has ideas, and everything needs to just exercise them. Spend a little time, guys. Spend a little time on planning. Planning with a goal in mind.
True.
Thank you so much, Kiran.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kiran.
Thank you.
For your beautiful thoughts. I mean, really, we had no doubt about that. We had no doubt about that. But thank you for endorsing what we truly believed in. And that's the reason, like I said, we have called Mrs. Ferozan again by popular demand. And
mashallah, yes. I can speak on behalf of whole Al-Waha's team. I think they would want to hear more of Mrs. Ferozan's experiences and her. I mean, it's her hard work. Whatever presentation, mashallah, she's done today, it's her hard work, her experiences, and we would love to learn something from her.
The Waha ladies are very biased. Very biased.
No, not at all. What I would really request all of you, please, I think what's going to make us help our sessions grow. I mean, all the people who have joined today, please, if you can join, we have you can try and connect with me personally on WhatsApp with our founder, Nikhat Jamil, myself and Sana Junaid. We are co-founders this amazing initiative that was started by Nikhat Jamil. Unfortunately, she's quite unwell today, but please stay in touch with us. I mean, we have a YouTube channel, we have an Instagram page, we are very active on our WhatsApp group. Kiran, it's people like you, who we need to hear from, because we want to know that what else will be helpful for you, so that we can share more stuff. And when we have speakers like Mrs. Feroza, I'm sure they will want feedback as well, that what's working for our participants and what's not. I mean, it's so heartening to see a comment by Mrs. Nishat Wasim, who's saying that she has learned so much from this session, and this would surely be a perfect guidance for her as a grandmother. So she doesn't look like a grandmother, by the way, but
exactly. Oh my God, that's another topic, mashallah.
Right. So thank you so much to all of us, to all of you for tuning in, and of course to Mrs. Ferozan. And what we have done now, what we do usually is we record the session, because like I said, the timing was a bit off for a few people, because in the Middle East and in India and Pakistan, it's weekend. So we have recorded the session. Mrs. Ferozan, if you don't mind sharing your presentation with us, so we can share it with our network. And
absolutely, yes, I will.
Gigi, so if there's anyone who would like, who's missed it, they can go through it again. If there are any questions, they can ask us in our group. We, of course, we have Dr. Karimuddin as well. So if there is any questions that we have for him or Mrs. Feroza, please feel free to ask. I mean, it was obviously a very popular session. Usually it does not last. We usually wrap up in less than an hour, and we've gone on for more than an hour. So thank you so much to each and every one of you for tuning in. And till the next one.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much.
Walaikum salam. Thank you. Thank you very much.
If you can just share the name of the link of YouTube channel, so we can follow.
You know what, Kiran, if you don't mind, Kiran, just send me your WhatsApp number, and let me stay in touch with you on WhatsApp. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you so
much. I would take leave now because I'm quite lagging. I'm on the way.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Thank you
so much to our ex-speaker. We have Mrs. Ruxana Mohsin as well, who was with us a couple of weeks back. बहुत शुक्रिया आपके भी tune in करने का, and lots of support today from Mrs. Sheba, Noreen, and Aman. Thank you so much to all of you for tuning in. We have a very interesting name as well. I mean, so RRR has recently done very well at the Oscars. We have a MMR as well, which reminds me of a vaccine. So बहुत shukriya आप सबके tune in करने का. And let me just, okay, Kiran, I've got your number. I'll try to note it down. And thank you so much for everyone who's asking for the YouTube link. YouTube link, if I'm not mistaken, actually Nikhat Jamil is the technical wo, but you can just, please, if you can type Padho and Padhao on YouTube, you should be able to get access to all our discussions and talks and sessions. Okay, everybody.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Walaikum assalam. Kiran, I'm just trying to note down your number. 053-488-7638. Okay, everybody. Thank you for your comments, everyone. Thank you, Noreen, for tuning in. Bye-bye. Gigi, Kiran. Gigi.